Welcome back. Minister for Local Government Leonard Montoute recently stated that discussions were taking place with Mayor Peter St. Francis over the fiasco with popcorn vendor Victor Philip and that there would be possible redress. The mayor, however, has insisted that the situation is what it is and there is nothing left to hash out. According to Mayor Francis, the issue is a dead one.
In a previous interview, spokesperson for the United Workers' Party, Nancy Charles, said the Castries mayor, Peter St. Francis, may have to issue an explanation to the public as to why he felt comfortable making the statements he did when asked about the motive behind removing popcorn vendor Simon Simple Philip from Constitution Park, a spot originally granted to him by the office of the mayor. Similarly, Minister for Local Government, the portfolio under which the office of the mayor falls, Leonard Montoute, sought to distance himself from the comments. Montoute explained that after consultation with the mayor, it was decided that if any remedial actions could be taken, then they would be. On his part, Castries Mayor Peter St. Francis says his position was made clear.
As far as I'm concerned, my dear, if that simple thing that's a dead issue, so I would not even like to even further to revive it anymore. So I had my position. Everybody else is entitled to their position.
Does Mayor Francis not believe that his initial statements necessitate a retraction?
The minister has spoken. I think he spoke clearly, and I'm sure you understood what the minister said.
Yes, but we're waiting on the redress. Is there any redress?
I don't know if you're waiting for redress. I don't know. Well, you're waiting for redress. You have to take the action for the redress.
Francis has been criticized heavily by members of the public for what they say is political victimization. Francis says he has no intention on responding to such claims as this issue is no longer in the forefront of his mind. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzague.
Police say a group of 28 foreign mercenaries, including retired Colombian soldiers, assassinated Haiti's President Jovenel Moïse earlier this week. After a gun battle in the capital Port-au-Prince, 17 were detained. Some at the house they were using, others after entering Taiwan's diplomatic compound. 3 suspects were killed by police and 8 are still being sought. Bloodied and bruised, arrested suspects were shown to the media on Thursday, along with a slew of seized weapons. It is still unclear who organized the attack and with what motive. The attack took place in the early hours of Wednesday when gunmen broke into the president's home in Port-au-Prince, shooting him dead and wounding his wife. Moïse, 53, was found lying on his back with 12 bullet wounds and a gouged eye. His wife was seriously wounded and is in stable condition after being flown to Florida for treatment. In other news, the Olympic Games in Japan are to be held without spectators due to rising cases of COVID-19. The Olympics minister made the announcement following discussions with officials and organizers on Thursday evening. A state of emergency in Tokyo will run throughout the Games to combat coronavirus. Coronavirus infections are rising in Tokyo as the 23rd of July opening ceremony edges closer. More in this report.
The staging of this month's Summer Olympics was dealt a fresh setback today when the host city Tokyo was placed under a new state of emergency, which will last for the duration of the Games. The Japanese government says the city is facing a race between coronavirus vaccinations and the spread of the Delta variant. The more infectious strain of COVID-19 now accounts for around a third of the cases. Olympic organizers are also meeting today to decide if up to 10,000 spectators will be allowed inside Games venues. If they decide it isn't possible, it will be the first Olympic Games ever to be hosted behind closed doors. Olympic delegations from around the world have been arriving in the city. Here you can see the British canoeing team arriving earlier today. They must have a COVID test when they arrive at the airport and have taken 2 tests in the 4 days before departure. The International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach also arrived at his hotel in Tokyo a few hours ago. He'll spend 3 days in quarantine. A short time ago, the Japanese Prime Minister said strong steps are necessary to prevent another COVID-19 outbreak in Japan and spoke of the strict controls that people coming to the Games are subject to.
It is 2 weeks up until Olympic Games. It is going to be very unusual circumstance. The athletes from overseas and the stakeholders are arriving. And before the entry, 2 tests. And at the immigration, and also after the immigration, the athletes are being tested every day. so that inflow of the virus to Japan is prevented.
That was the Japanese Prime Minister speaking a little earlier. Well, let's go to Tokyo now and speak to the BBC's Mariko Oi. Mariko, this obviously, as the Prime Minister said, are unusual circumstances. But what does this state of emergency actually mean?
Well, it basically means that people in Tokyo are encouraged not to go out. But you have to remember that this is not like a strict lockdown that you had in the UK. The Japanese government doesn't have the constitutional power to impose a strict lockdown like that. So even if you go out, there's no penalty. And as you can imagine, by the fourth time, people are getting somewhat used to this idea of the state of emergency. So even my own friends were saying, oh, yeah, I guess we can't go out. So how effective it will be remains to be seen, but the government will be asking restaurants and bars not to serve any alcohol. Department stores will be asked to close early, and this move will face quite a lot of strong opposition from those businesses, because they say that it has a devastating impact on them, while it has very limited impact on controlling the pandemic. But from the government's point of view, they were very concerned that if people start going to watch some competitions in the stadiums and end up going to a bar and getting a bit drunk, that could lead to a higher number of new COVID-19 infections. And that's why they've decided to declare this fourth state of emergency. As you said, the organizers and the government are having a meeting as we speak to decide whether to allow any spectators inside the stadiums. We'll probably find out the decision tomorrow.
National health insurance is being touted as one of the major milestones that the United Workers' Party will have achieved if it is re-elected into office. UWP candidate for Castries Central, Sarah Flood-Bobra, says that the realization of the health insurance scheme will change the health and productivity of the nation as well as the economy.
National health insurance is a means of achieving universal health coverage in St. Lucia, so that everyone has access to the health services they need when they need them without enduring any financial hardship or paying for healthcare out of pocket. It's a dream that St. Lucians have looked forward to for many years, and during these last 5 years, the United Workers' Party has been making strides to achieve that. The development of the National Health Insurance is a component of the Health System Strengthening Project funded by the World Bank, with $5.5 million being dedicated to the development of the NHI system in St. Lucia. UWP candidate Sarah Flood-Bobra says the promise will finally be realized if the UWP is elected into office once more.
We've been speaking about national health insurance for over 30 years. We've been working on it for more than 30 years. And I think if we go back to manifestos, to speeches in Parliament, to public speeches, it's always been coming. But this time it is here. And that's the difference. I mean, the way I wish to explain this is that this is a new season. This is a new dawn in healthcare in St. Lucia, because finally there'll be access to health. And that is what healthcare means. And as you know, our government has done a lot. We've built the health infrastructure. We've ensured that we have fully functioning hospitals. We, if you would recall, did the amnesty because we recognized, even when we came in 2016, that the cost of healthcare makes healthcare inaccessible.
Medical care for all is one of the 5 for 5 promises that the UWP is promising the electorate as it seeks to regain power.
All persons who are not able to afford their own private health insurance will now be able to access this $75,000 basket of health services. Really, it means no one left behind. That's what it means. It means that every single St. Lucian, regardless of your income or status, you will have access from the word go per year to $75,000 of medical care. If you have your private insurance that covers you, then you're covered. The important thing here is that we're bridging the gap. We're making sure that we don't have a system where for something as basic as health care, some people can afford and others can't.
Only 18% of individuals of working age currently have health insurance. Nisha Charles, Hot 7 TV, Election Central.
You're watching the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. We'll be right back.